Welcome back, everybody, to the SlotsFan podcast. On this show, we interview slots content creators about their channels and their biggest wins and their tips for having more fun, more safely at the casino. And today, we've got an awesome guest. It's Christy, aka Slot Bunny, and this is the first time she's ever appeared on a podcast, and we're so grateful to have her on the show. Before we get started, Christy, I just want to tell everyone, please use the link in the description and check out the Slot Bunny channel, subscribe, and check out some of the videos. Christy, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to chat with you today.
Thanks so much for inviting me. I've looked at your channel. I've seen all the greats you've interviewed, so I'm really honored that you asked me.
We're so excited to
You
talk to
know,
everybody in the
like
space.
I have a small little channel, so I'm just like, wow, really? Like, thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. And it's so cool to talk to channels of all different sizes and different, there's so many different kinds of channels these days. And it's exciting to see all the variety. And so we're really happy to have you on the show. Before we started recording, you mentioned that you got into this space in kind of a special way. You actually worked for a slot manufacturer. And you're a Las Vegas local. So I was hoping to start by asking you to expand a bit on what was that experience like going from working in the industry to being in front of the camera, actually doing this yourself, and what led to you starting your own slots channel?
Well, I would say I got the idea from watching it. Working in slots, I was able to suggest the idea of utilizing influencers around 2018, before people really started doing it, before companies were really reaching out and listening to what they had to say and share their ideas. But I was able to prove my point that they are an up and coming source of entertainment, news, and just a really good references to have if you're a game company, is to have slot YouTubers that love your product. So I was able to reach out and invite YouTubers to come into the office and try out our games, and our very first one was none other than Vegas Low Roller. So I started off at the top.
That's so
it was
cool.
yeah. He's so personable, and I was able to ask him a lot of questions and stuff, and he really enjoyed our games. So I'd say we really hit it off. And since I was asking so many questions, I think that's why he just said, "Well, why don't you come? Why don't you check it out?"
So was it like what actually happened to make you think that you'd want to do this? Do you have any experience being in front of the camera before, or were you just so passionate about slots you wanted to share that with people?
I've only done I love being in front of the camera for just the fun of it. I've just been an influencer, just sharing what I eaten today or roller skating, just different stuff like that. When I was on a roller derby team, I loved sharing our bouts that we were going to have. But once I got into making slots, I really realized there was some parts that the mainstream people just sometimes don't know. And what I like is, now that I'm an influencer, is I get to share some of what I've learned. So I know it was really funny when I first joined Next Gaming. They thought it was so hilarious because I remember saying, "Ooh, I love playing slots, and I know how the chair is rigged, so you really want to be animated and make noise, because that's when I won the most." I really thought it tied down to when I'm being the loudest at the casino. That's when I've had a $900 win, because they want marketing, right? And everybody was laughing at me. So it was so funny how I learned that that has nothing to do with the outcome of the game, and just different things like that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like, you don't have to spend too much time in casinos to hear some of the myths, I guess you could call them, or other superstitions. But having interviewed lots of influencers, it's so cool to hear the truth and also learn about how common I think these kind of misconceptions are among slots players. So I totally agree that influencers are one of the best ways to actually educate gamblers about how things really work and how to gamble safely and responsibly and have more fun. And that's totally what the show's about. So I'd love to hear any other tips that you have, because I'm really interested what other stuff that you learned from your time kind of behind the scenes.
I had a couple notes. Yes. Well, see, here's another thing. A lot of people think that the $20 method or the $100 method is the way to win, when in all honesty, I hate to break it to you, but it's a random number generator. So there is no way to game the system, and it's been designed like that for a purpose. So all of the code has gone through testing and been certified that you can't game it. It's a random number generator. So every push of the button is a different spin. It's basically like punching out a punch card, and you've used up so many choices. So I kind of
So
like.
no real strategy. And it's funny because I people call them strategies and tips and stuff. And I feel like even though it's not going to change your odds of winning, it's still fun to have like kind of games within the game where like 20 or $100 shots or other stuff can be a fun, like could be a way to have fun, but important that people understand that it's not changing like the location of the machine, player card in and out. Some people think they're like turned on to win more when influencers are playing them. None of that's true.
Yes, or early morning slots. I
Yeah.
swear, I think I have more luck playing early morning slots, and I get up just because I don't know. Maybe it's because the energy we have, and we believe in ourselves, and we're going to have a great day. But I tend to have good luck on the slots in the morning, but it has nothing to do with that's the time that they empty them and reset them for the next day or anything like that.
I guess there's some slots like must hit and progressive jackpots where sometimes the state of the game can change a bit depending on like some mechanics like that. But with those exceptions, not a lot you can do to like overcome the built-in house edge.
Definitely. Those are some of the games I do enjoy playing. When you do see that it's coming to the point where it tips the bucket. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the best. If I'm gonna gamble, I want to gamble like that, where I feel like, okay, it's gonna hit soon. So
Do you have any other tips or anything that you learned from your time with Next Gaming?
let me see. I wrote them down because I didn't want to.
No, it's
I did my
perfect. You came
homework.
prepared.
Okay. Another tip I have is when you change the denom when you're playing at a slot machine and you change the denom, it's basically that you've just now sat down at a different slot machine. Because when you change the denom, it is a whole different pay table. And when you have a different pay table, that's a different game. So, you can get bored when you're sitting and you're having no action and you can get up and walk across the casino. But sometimes I just change my betting denom instead of getting up because it is switching the game.
Yeah, it's kind of again like not going to change your odds, but can change things up, make it more interesting. Maybe at least maybe a different outcome, not like a higher probability of winning, but it can switch things up a little bit.
Yes.
What else do you got for us?
Well, let's see. Hmm. Gosh, those are the only two I prepared for.
What about just for having fun? And this is subjective, and different people like different things. But you mentioned that you like getting up early in the morning. I know the casino vibe is very different early in the morning compared to at night. So maybe from your perspective, what are some of the things that you like to do just to enjoy yourself more and have more fun?
I love the early morning vibe. I found that if I'm at the casino and it's getting to be about 2 a.m., 3 a.m., it's getting to be a little different and weird. And sometimes it gets to be, it's a, I don't know, it's the vampires that came out. But in the early morning, I get inspired if I am at Yamava and I'm riding the shuttle in. Everybody is usually like, "Good morning, have a good day, good luck." And I've found that I'm just like, wow, I really like how we're all inspiring each other. And I tend to find that like in the morning when people are fresh, you know?
Everyone who's up drinking all night's no longer there, so
Yeah.
everyone's got a sunnier
Yeah.
disposition, maybe.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you like playing games with features like must hits and progressive jackpots and stuff like this. What are some of the games that you like playing the most? And sometimes channels kind of get into a niche of what their audience likes and what YouTube likes them to play. What do you like playing, and what do you play for your channel the most?
I love to play the newest slots. I found the newest slots is where I'm most excited about. I love to see the design, the characters, and the cabinets. Sometimes the oldest slots pay better. So I've learned from other influencers like Cowboy Slots about pinball and the various older games like Double Diamond. So
Yeah.
I've literally, when I started doing my channel, I would copy everything he did. If one video came out that he went to Casino Arizona, I went to Casino Arizona. I just did, because he said it was his favorite casino, and he said he had the most luck at the high limit there. So one weekend, if I wanted to play, well, I want to go see what Cowboy Slots recommends, and sure enough, I tried the pinball and had a hand pay. And once you get that hand pay, you learn. And now I love the old classic games too.
Pinball is such a good one.
Yeah.
I think, like, the volatility just seems so different nowadays. Most new games are super high volatility compared to those older games where you can yeah, your money doesn't get rinsed quite as aggressively as some of the new ones.
I miss it. I miss that the old volatility of it. My grandma, she would always go on trips from California to Las Vegas on the bus with her girlfriends in the bowling league, and they would pay for their trips here. They would go gamble, low rolling it, and she would always come back winning. And those are the
Mm.
stories I remember of the 90s. So when I started gambling, I was like, okay, I'm going to pay for my trip.
There's been a few people who've gone to Vegas hoping to pay for their trip
Yeah.
gambling, and it
Yeah.
doesn't always work out that way. That's cool. So, does your family like is gambling kind of a part of your family history? It sounds like your grandma at least was into it. Is this something that you guys did?
Just my grandma.
Okay.
They loved coming out for Cowboy Christmas, and it was just a yearly thing. All their friends would come out, and it was really great because I lived here and they would come and visit me. So, yeah, it was kind of neat. But I've
Nice.
never had the luck she had, you know?
Sometimes it seems like some people just have better luck overall when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
Getting back to the games, are there any games that you would recommend people check out if they haven't, or anything that is particularly high on your list right now for games that you're enjoying playing?
Well, I like fun characters and I like fun gameplay. And I found the Huff and Puff and the Wolf feature is really fun and enjoyable. And just recently, I had a really successful session. So now I'm like totally loving it. And I'm forgetting that most of the times I played that, I've not won. So
I think it's a sign of a good game when even like you'll like any game that's paying, you're gonna love. It could be like the worst game in the world, but some games are so good that even when you're not winning, you're like, oh, I still actually enjoy playing this game.
yeah.
And Huff and Puff seems like that. It's really caught on that way. It's so fun. There's just so much to it. It's like it's great to see a bit more entertainment. I think you could take that so much further too in terms of the gameplay. And it's cool to see some games experimenting like that. Go, it's really interesting that you bring a background from game development and working at a company like that. There's so many new features, and you kind of see these game features like one game will be successful, and then a bunch of other games will sort of follow suit. I'm curious, what are the features that you like the most? There's some really popular ones out right now that maybe would be your choice, but I'm curious, what do you like, and maybe what do you think could come next for these kind of features?
Well, so something I'm just really excited and like interested about is the way it's a buy a feature,
Hmm.
buy a win or something like that. I've
Yeah, like
tried it.
buy a
Maybe
bonus.
I've tried it once. I didn't win. So, I don't know about that, but I see the slot YouTubers do that, and I'm just like, wow, that's really interesting to me. I don't know about that yet. Cause I guess I had a bad spin.
Can you buy features like that on like real land-based slots as well? Because I see that a lot online, like with online slots, but I'm less familiar with buying features at the casino. You can do that as well.
I have never played online slots yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have.
What's your thoughts about online slots? So many influencers are starting to promote sweepstakes and even regulated online
I've
casinos in
looked
some parts of the
into it.
country.
I was
Yeah.
contacted from a company who wanted to utilize me in that, but I don't play it and it's not natural to me. So I didn't want to push it, especially since it's not legal in the state I live in. You
Hmm.
know, I did consider, well, I could cross the state line and go shoot at Casino Arizona, but that's so much more effort and it's not something I'm passionate about anyways. So, if I fall into it, I do, but so far it's just something I've learned about. I haven't necessarily tried because I live so close to a casino. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just go to the grocery store and I'll drop in. I'll drop in after getting my nails done, a 50 bucks at the gas station. If I'm like, I'm feeling lucky today. Let's test it out. If I'm going off-roading, I love to play some gas station slots. I just do. Yeah.
That's really fun, and I'm excited to ask you more about off-roading because I saw that as well as lots of food and other lifestyle stuff on your channel that's really cool. Um, but yeah, I guess like Vegas is such a great place if you want to play land-based slots. In some parts of the country, less access, and I think we're seeing kind of a transition where people are learning about and in some cases starting to play online, whether it's sweepstakes casinos or online casinos. But there's definitely a lot of cool innovations, like we're talking about games and game features, a lot of cool stuff happening in the online space with people like experimenting with more gamified slots and lots of interesting stuff. So if you get a chance, check it out. And you can read about lots of that stuff on slotsfan.com too,
Great.
because we do cover some of the online stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
love your site, by the way. I checked it out. I love it.
oh, thanks.
Yeah.
We always like to get feedback. I'm curious, like as a content creator, what do you think is missing in the space right now, and what are some of the ways that a site like SlotsFan can provide value to the players, but also to the influencers and maybe to the casino industry too? That's more and more interested in influencer marketing using people like you.
I think events is a great way, just connecting people. It's like the meetup aspect of things. I think finding little regional ways to connect with who you're around is a great way to kind of,
Mhm.
build the backbone of our community.
That's a good insight. I come from a poker media background, and we always used live tournaments as such a great place to capture other content, about the people behind the channels and the real life experiences that people have when they get together. And it's so cool to see so many slot events these days, whether it's influencer meet and greets or like opening high limit rooms or launching new games. We're seeing so much stuff like that. Thanks for the tip. I'm curious if you've participated in any events like that, because I know there are get-togethers in Vegas pretty frequently throughout the year.
Yeah. I don't think I've been to anything in Vegas really. But in California at Yamava, they had a really cool every event that I checked out and I love.
Okay.
So yeah. I think I
Yeah.
was considering going to Shoshone Rose when Cowboy Slots was up there because I love gambling up there. And that's where I
Mhm.
had my biggest hand pay. So I was like, oh, he's gonna be up there. I might as well go back up and
Cowboy Slot's channel is so great. He's
yeah.
got such a good community, and his content is so interesting from our point of view too, because there's so much. Um, he like educates so much about what the truth is from his background as a slot tech, which is really cool to see.
Very cool.
Yeah, there was like I think it was like something called Slot Fiesta not too long ago in Vegas, where a bunch of channels got together, and we're seeing these events kind of pop up around.
Yeah,
Like Sloticon happened at Foxwoods, I guess, like the year before last, but really hoping something like that happens again as well.
definitely.
So you mentioned hand pays. I'm curious about your most memorable moments, whether it was on camera or off camera. Sometimes it's a big win, but sometimes it's just a really funny story or something that was really special to you. Can you share any memorable moments from your time playing slots?
Yeah. Well, for instance, when I heard Cowboy Slots tell his viewers that his favorite experience was playing the high limit at Casino Arizona, I went out and within 10 minutes, within 10 minutes, I hit my second best. So that was pretty good. Let me see how much it was again. I had to write it down. Okay. My second best at Casino Arizona was 31.50. That's
Nice.
amazing.
What stakes are you usually betting? Like what spin amounts?
25 $25.
Okay.
I don't play a lot. I like to usually low roll, but I've had some luck with those $25 spins, and then you're like, "Ooh, I see why it was."
Yeah, it's a trade off between bigger wins and
Yeah, it's so true.
expensive.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
I mean, it's also so true. Like one of the things I've learned a lot about is just like how different machines play and the volatility, and one bankroll could be appropriate on one game and real like at a certain bet size and really not on another game. And some of those old school machines are so fun because you can bet a little higher with a lower bankroll and not just get totally um, bankrupt
Yeah,
immediately. So
yeah.
if that was your second biggest one, what was your biggest one?
My biggest one was at Shoshone Rose in Wyoming, and that was about $4,100. And
Nice.
oh man, it was great. It
You
was great.
mentioned, like, the rush of winning, and it's especially nowadays with some of these machines, they're so big and so crazy, like, the visual experience, the sensory experience is pretty intense, but I feel like it's kinda that like, the anticipation of a big win is so much a part of the fun, and when it happens or when you have a good run, it's just so much fun. Pretty much in any casino game when things are going well, it's a lot of fun, but I'm curious from your point of view, what do you like the most about the experience of playing slots, and what is that feeling of a big win like for you?
I grew up playing Nintendo games. So to me, these new games like Huff and Puff really resemble it. I couldn't help but notice that recently. It's really catching on that what we grew up with, we're starting to see in the designs. So I think that's really fun and smart. Much more exciting than the three wheels of just a diamond or a cherry. When I get to play, and the wolf is blowing down the house, or the other games, like I'm trying to collect the gold buffaloes. I think that's really fun and keeps it exciting. But to tell you the truth, I haven't had a hand pay in over a year. So as much as I play, you know, I lose. It is not all that glamorous. I'll admit that. There's I've been playing for about a year and I've been like, dang, I wish I could get a hand pay. That first year it was just hitting so hard. And so now I've learned to really still let my loss go and show it, but I got
Yeah.
it interesting.
I mean, it's something that I think more channels are more aware of these days, which is like showing a bit more of the reality of what it's really like to play a higher volume of slots. Maybe years ago, it was a little more like just post all the wins,
Yeah,
which can give people a bit of the wrong idea of what slots playing is really like. So that's cool that you do that. And sometimes these videos can also perform well. It's not always like the big win video that does the best. So it's cool that you can also post really compelling stuff, even when you're not like
yeah.
crushing it.
It's just hard to stay compelling when you're in a losing streak and you're like, okay, what am I trying to think of now? But when I get stuck like that, I do revert to I was basically trained from Vegas Low Roller. We went out to the casino, he got on live stream, and I was just watching. People were donating $50, $100. And I was just like, you know. And so he was like, you got a personality that you should try it. So it took me a few years with it on the back of my mind, just thinking about it until I just dared to try it, put myself out there.
That's a whole different part of it is the putting yourself out there, part of just being a YouTuber of in any space, let alone with the highs and lows of slots, which can be pretty intense.
Definitely.
So was Vegas Low Roller uh, like a support for you beyond giving you the idea to do the channel? Is this something that is he someone that you've been able to learn from since then as well?
I've touched base running it into him at the casino, and it's pretty cool. I he's such a great friend, but I don't really, need to bug him with questions. After that, I started bugging Cowboy Slots. So I ran into
Okay.
Cowboy Slots at G2E, and I was just like, "You're a slot tech. Do the manufacturers get mad at what you're saying?" And he laughed, and he was like, "No." And I was just like, "Really? Okay." So because at the time, I think I was still working for the Next Gaming myself. So I was just curious, and I was like, uh, do they get mad? You're telling the secrets, nothing that we don't already know, but to really pinpoint certain things. I just wanted to know if he was welcomed at the casino. So yeah, from time to time, I've shot him questions and run into him too. So it's kind of neat. I'll be like, what are you doing? What do you got going on now? I ran into him about a year ago and he had just won his biggest hand pay. And that was really cool. He was like, oh my God, I just won my biggest hand pay and I forgot to record it. And I was like, what? You you have no recording? So yeah.
Yeah, the number of influencers I've hung out with who even like they'll finish recording and they'll be like, okay, now I'm going to play some slots, like for me, without recording. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
I think for a lot of people, they just really love playing and they love the games, and it's something they'd probably be doing regardless of whether they have a channel. So hopefully it doesn't become too much of a job for people, because I know YouTube channels are a lot of work and it's hard to get a lot of content, not to mention the like financial cost of it all.
totally. That's why I like mixing it up and just maybe doing a video about me driving in the desert, because that's free. Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't cost me
Well,
anything.
it's cool that it's awesome that you branch out. I'm not sure if we mentioned it yet in this interview, but on your channel, you go off-roading, you review your plant-based food aficionado, and I see so much cool content, but also other like Vegas stuff and just lifestyle stuff. Is this part of your vision for the channel and just kind of showing off what's fun and what you're into?
Yes, I love just sharing anything I'm doing. Sometimes I usually just don't think too much of it. I'll just post it. I'm eating something interesting or I'm going to a concert. Just whatever I want to look at later, I'll film it and make a video because I want to look at it later. Some of my videos, I'm out with my best friend. We're going out to dinner. We're going to go play video games. We went to an amazing show recently and we were sitting front row and they said, you guys could film everything. So I was like,
Amazing.
wow, nobody lets you film everything. So these certain moments are just so special to me. So I do hope everybody enjoys it, but if not, at least I did. I kind of
I mean,
made
I think that makes for the best content. Like if you're not into it yourself, it's not gonna get other people excited. Do you still play video games?
not as much, but I
Okay.
was a huge gamer. I love playing on a rig, on a computer. I love Call of Duty. I like first person shooters, but I don't have a rig anymore. And I found when I would play, it would easily be an 8, 9 hour day playing.
Hmm.
So I don't really have,
You don't have time for that.
I don't, but, but I have fond memories.
Well, what came into my mind when you were talking about off-roading is like if you did play online, you could take your phone to the top of a mountain and play slots while you're off-roading, combine those two passions, and then bring some plant-based food. You
Yeah.
have the trifecta.
Yes, that would be epic. And that would be a good video.
As someone who's, you're in Vegas, you've worked in the industry side of things, you've now spent some time in front of the camera. Where do you see the space going? You mentioned starting to work with influencers in 2018. A
Yeah.
lot's changed since then. It's blown up through COVID.
Yeah.
Um, what's it like? What's it been like for you being a part of that? And where do you think it's going in the future when it comes to slots influencers?
Great question. I think the sky's the limit. I think the manufacturers welcome influencers now and recognize the power of their channel and their influence. And just recently I was at the Indian gaming show, which is one of my favorite shows. I
Mhm.
like going to G2E and IGA. And walking around the booths, I discovered a new slot company I had never seen before. And I was so impressed because out came to meet me was Britt Carter. And she
Okay.
used to have her own channel. And so, I was like, smart. That's so smart. They're using the best talent to get the best look for themselves, to utilize my talent back. It was just giving. It was just, you know, I was like, wow, this is great. Let's go. And it was a great bit I had for my channel. So I could see slot influencers turning pro, being utilized maybe for sales or
Mhm.
or something else to benefit what we can give.
Yeah, I think we're already seeing it in so many ways. Casinos, game developers, online casinos are really leaning into the power of influencer marketing with channels like yours. And I think there's opportunities more and more for channels of all sizes. Small channels have such awesome engagement and such dedicated communities. And there's so many of them now. I think we're up to like 300 channels on SlotsFan, and we keep running into new channels all the time to add to the list. So, and there's new channels popping up all the time. So it's exciting to think of the possibilities. And even though it's blowing up, it still seems really unorganized. Like it's hard sometimes to get permission at land-based casinos to even shoot there, let alone to make a deal with them where you might actually be compensated for the advertising that you're doing.
Yeah.
So it'll be exciting to see things continue to evolve over the next years. So what's next for you? I know that you have a variety of interests, which include slots, but what's coming up that's exciting, and what are you looking forward to for the summer or for your channel or for anything else?
I'm so excited. I have some breaking news. Slot Bunny is going to be in a slot machine.
No way.
Yes. It's not
W-
big. Let me just start off now. It's not the Slot Bunny slot machine, but I have a little bit in a bonus round on a game. And
What
I
can you say what game it is or what
yeah,
company or anything? Yeah.
so it is Gaming Arts Puzzle Time, and I just heard that it's in testing right now. So it's only a matter of time when it's going to be on the floor.
So what does your appearance look like? Do you know?
Oh, great question. Yes. Submitted something. They sent a call out on social media asking it was about I think it was about puzzle time or just referencing that they're open to submissions if you have anything you want to submit. So my husband takes a lot of professional photos of me. So I had professional photos up there. And I was like, which one should I use? Which one should I use? And I had this really cute one with my cat, and she was a kitten, and I was wearing a ballerina tutu cosplay. So I submitted it, and I got word that it got chosen for a bonus round. So in puzzle time, it builds puzzles, and I haven't seen it yet. But what I've
Oh, okay,
heard,
that's so cool.
I heard it's gonna be me and my cat. So
Like the image in a puzzle?
yes, and
That's so cool.
in a bonus round. Yeah.
Congratulations. Not very many influencers can say that they appear in a game. I think the number's quite small. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited. It was such a great opportunity.
Do you know when the game's expected to be released or will be available for people to check out?
I would assume, I'm only guessing because it's in testing right now, that perhaps G2E. So
Yeah.
I would expect it to be this year unless they needed to hold it maybe for a better oomph next year or something, but it sounds like it might be this year.
That's cool. So you mentioned that you attend G2E, so maybe we'll get to check it out on the floor there because I know they kind of demo the new games that are going to be released shortly after that or in the following year.
Yes. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, I always like to ask influencers because I know that game developers are more and more looking to influencers for real feedback about, what makes a good game and how are people reacting to the trends nowadays. If you could give tips to someone in that position, do you have anything to share about what you see in terms of popularity right now, what you think makes a good game, whether it's themes or mechanics or anything else?
Yeah, definitely. I love a good character. I love the characters. Oh gosh, I love a good cabinet. I don't think you can skimp on the cabinets. I like the lights, I want pizzazz, which it costs a lot. So that's why sometimes Buffalo has the best presence because they have the budget to make the biggest, and sometimes I gravitate towards that. But I would say that that's where it's at. The characters, I wish we could do like Marvel and Disney and stuff like that, but that won't ever happen. But, to find ways to work in little characters that we fall in love with,
Hmm.
and the comfortability of the game. I love sitting and enjoying myself and really feeling like this is comfortable, and I'm going to park it here for a few hours and charge my phone. So I really enjoy that.
That's awesome. It seems like they're having a competition of like who can build the biggest and craziest cabinets these days. They keep making them bigger and more intense.
Yes. Yes, it's all about the presence at the casino. So it's like sight
Right.
time. So, when you walk into the casino, what catches your eye is usually the tallest casino. And it's hard for them to get the space, for a
Mhm.
casino to say, sure, take up the space. But if they're good enough, then they're trusted. So,
Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you, Christy, and I'm so excited for where your channel's going to go and where the space is going to go, and I'd love to have you back on the show sometime and check in. And I can't wait to see your appearance in a bonus in Puzzle Time. That's really exciting that that worked out. And yeah, I just really appreciate you taking the time to share all your insights. And again, I hope everyone who's watching will follow the link in our description and go check out Slot Bunny's channel, subscribe, check out some of the videos. And if you like off-roading, you drive a Toyota, I drive a Toyota, so I was really happy to see that. If you like food, you want to see fun stuff in Vegas, Slot Bunny's got tons of awesome stuff on the channel. So thank you so much for your time, Christy, and we look forward to catching up with you again.
Hey, I look forward to talking to you again later.
Okay.
Thanks.